Thanks for joining us on Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. And joining me is Talktainment Radio host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates, and Katrina Hawkins Bowles. The Merriam Dictionary says domestic violence is the inflicting of physical injury by a household member on another and repeating the behavior. The issue of domestic violence took center stage with the Baltimore Ravens releasing and the National Football League suspending running back Ray Rice for assaulting his wife, Janae. The video footage showed Rice knocking his wife out and dragging her unconscious body from the elevator. Domestic violence. Reverend, you've counseled many people on domestic violence. What's your take on domestic violence?
Well, my take is that it certainly exists, and it exists in very high numbers. As a pastor, you discover two things immediately about domestic violence. Number one, there is a thing called battered wife syndrome, where no matter how much you may help someone that has been battered, they seem to go back to the abuser over and over again. And then secondly, there are those that find it difficult to leave their abusers because their incomes are attached to the abuser as well. So,
why does this abuse happen, Reverend Katrina Hawkins Bowles? Why does it happen?
You're asking why does someone want to hurt other people?
No, I'm asking you, why does domestic violence happen?
Well, that's what that it is someone hurting someone else.
All right, got you. Go ahead. Flo?
Why?
Why?
It's because of the
Jeez,
nature
I
of
asked
sin.
twice. Why? Nature of what?
The sin.
What sin got to do with it? What does sin have to do with somebody going upside your head? Help me.
Sin has everything to do with any pain that any person causes to another.
Earth Jallow, you agree with that?
Wait
a minute. Is it sin-based when I go upside your head? Is that sin-based?
It will be for you.
No, that'd be problematic for me. But I'm saying, is it sin-based?
You know, I don't know about sin. What I do know is that a lot of...
Whoa. You can't walk past what she said. She said it's sin-based. Answer the question.
For her, it may be sin-based. For me, it is abusers who have seen their parents in domestic violence situations. It is people who want to control
So
other
why does
people.
a man hit a woman?
Control. He wants to be in control. He wants to control her. He wants to manipulate her.
Reverend, you know something. Wait a minute. They really don't understand domestic. Why does a man hit a woman?
Well, first of all, you said you don't know about sin. I guess not. Okay.
No, I don't know about sin.
But I
That's
assure
not
you that
my
you
belief.
probably do know about sin.
Whatever.
You sin.
Answer the question.
You can be saved by grace, Earth Jallow. Just want you to know. But a man participates in domestic violence not because of necessarily wanting to control a woman, but because of the stresses that exist within society.
That is an excuse. It is control.
And it is his lack of control of himself.
And wanting to control her.
Wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute, you didn't know, so take a
No,
learning.
I do know.
Wait a minute,
I do know.
See, and that's probably one of the reasons that
Hold on
frustrate
for a minute.
men
Wait a minute. I just said something real
go.
nice. I said, get a learning.
Whatever.
Nice.
That's right.
All right,
Point
get a
that.
learning.
Point that. Point that.
I just did.
Get a learning.
Get a learning.
And y'all have given two reasons, and both of the sources of your reasons is sin.
Oh, what do you mean? Okay, give me a definition of sin.
Sin is anything that can separate you from God.
Huh? Well, my God. I mean,
There you go.
Well, that could be so much.
Anything, actually.
I mean, we can go all day. Get a learning. That can go all day long. I'm saying about specifically, why does a man, in your opinion, put his fist upside that woman's head?
One, he has seen his father doing that and grew up in a household where domestic violence was prevalent. And number two, you can go through all the studies, all of the research, and I've had personal experience with this. It is control.
Well, you know, Susan Brown Miller came out with that, and then all the women jumped on it. Nobody did any independent research, especially African-American women. They just went with what Gloria Steinman, who turned out to be CIA.
I know her too.
Steinem and all them. They run out and say, oh, yeah, that's what it is, and they bought it, didn't they, John?
Oh, yeah, because they didn't
Lock, stock, and because they didn't do their own research.
Because they didn't do their own research.
Well, let me
but there's
ask
a
you.
lot of independent studies that have been done, including right here at the Department of Sociology for the Ohio State University. And they find that people participate in domestic violence. And I said people because the statistics also state that in the black community, that women are just as prone to commit domestic violence. Now,
against children.
And all
children,
types in fact, what's so interesting is that out of all the types of crime when men are more prone to commit, when it comes to the area of domestic violence, it's slightly even higher that black women will participate in domestic violence against their husbands.
No, that can't be. Wait a minute.
But that's according.
The statistic is that it's slightly higher that they will commit it with their husband.
What's your source, Katrina?
That's because the CDC, and that is because yes, that's what they said. That is most in times of when it's women in
they will not
self-defense.
accept your abuse.
No, I'm not talking about the CDC study. I quoted a Ohio State University study.
I understand that.
Where they stated that women are just as
I tell you
prone
what,
to
stand right
gender
there.
Absolutely.
Is the black man out of control? Is Ray Rice used to justify Micheal Brown? Up next on Khari, Free at Last. Welcome back to Khari Free at Last. I'm Khari Enaharo, and joining me is Talktainment Radio host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates. I love that R. I couldn't roll it too good. Anyway, the Reverend Katrina Hawkins Bowles. Is Ray Rice being used to justify the shooting of Micheal Brown and other blacks? Because some may say black men are out of control. Ooh, John, I mean, the timing of this is real peculiar. Now, this happened in February. Certainly. Now, all of a sudden, TMZ Sports, or whoever they are, because we don't know how these people are financed. But anyway, all of a sudden, it comes right on the heels of where black men was kind of getting a little sympathy across the nation for the shooting of Micheal Brown. Now, here comes this Ray Rice. And the worst part's, you know, obviously the hit when he knocked her out, but the worst part is how he reacted. He treated her like a piece of trash.
Like a piece,
like she was nothing.
Well, first of all, we can't take the timing for granted because the time, everything's in timing and in placement. You know, we're talking about national media, full coverage. Don't hear no other news.
We know how stuff gets manipulated.
Except for international terrorism, and now how the man, how video finally comes out to the rest of the public.
The world.
How he co-cocked his then fiancée, and how he handled her. I think how he handled her shows us about his mentality.
Yes.
You know, he grew up in a culture where women have been getting on their knees for him, and they haven't been praying. Okay, but since his entire athletic career, they have been coming after him. I want to be with this athlete. So is she just like the rest of the women? So that's because he handled her that way.
So are black men out of control, Katrina?
All people are out of control in a way.
Katrina, I'm talking about the specific.
No, black people are not out of control.
I didn't say black people, I said black men.
Black men are not out of control. They're not doing anything different than every other race of men is doing.
You sure?
I know so.
Is that true, Irv?
I think that, no, black men are not out of control. I think that we, like she said, black men and black women have issues, but they're not doing anything that their counterparts are not doing.
Well,
we're talking about a culture of domestic violence within the NFL, the NBA, and all of that. He is not the only one who has been in that situation. No white
men being imaged like this.
They're not going to be imaged like that.
Hold on for a minute. Wait a minute now. All of a sudden now you get you were getting some sympathy for Micheal Brown, right? All right, black men are being shot down. Young black men. And here comes another young black man who beats up his wife. Well, no wonder the police are pulling out the guns and shooting. Do you understand imaging?
I understand imaging.
Do you understand imaging?
I do understand imaging, and yes, that's the image that they're giving the public. That's not the image that I'm accepting.
Black women are accepting that image.
Cases of domestic violence is higher in the black community. Is higher in the black community. So what would make it? So what would make it?
Whoa! What's your evidence?
They're more honest about it in the black community.
What is your evidence?
That's what it is.
So what's your evidence? You're saying it's high. What's your evidence?
My evidence is any major police department.
Don't try to be smooth.
Any major police department reports that the evidence shows that there are higher cases of domestic violence within the black community.
You believe that, Irv?
No, I believe that domestic violence doesn't know class, it doesn't know gender, it goes beyond all of the economical, social structures.
So you have problems
from
with
the top to the bottom. Yes, I do. From the top to the bottom.
What do you think that they're fighting over? It's the amount of stress that's in the black household that causes domestic violence.
I think there's a combination of things. There's a combination of things that causes it.
I think, no, just social-economic, which would then be some of the relationship to race.
That's based on race.
Only black people have stress?
Are
you that naive?
No, I'm certainly not naive.
She just called you naive.
And I also understand that's why they named.
Well, that means don't know nothing.
I certainly understand that's also why they named Hurricane Katrina. Okay, but no, I'm not naive, but we're here to talk about black people. So the subject matter is black people, so we're talking about black people. Now, if you want to have a conversation about white people, let's talk about white people as well.
However,
so domestic violence exists for black people because of the degree of stress that exists within our community.
it's more than just the stress.
So you think it's greater?
Yes.
You believe the police reports?
Yes.
Do you think it's greater?
No, I think that on average across the board, I don't think that there, I think that in a way, yes, because John has a point. I did read something that said that the lower your income, the increase of domestic
black women,
violence.
According to which center was this?
That was the CDC.
The CDC, no, the CDC didn't say that. There was a study that came
What?
out. The
No.
Pittsburgh Gazette revealed a study in the year 2007
the Center
in which
for
it said
Community Economic Development.
it said that the black women have a net worth of $5.
Yeah.
Yes.
A net worth, so they have no value.
Right.
And that's
But
how it's being perceived. Now, do black men perceive black women as having no value, right?
Well, they live in a culture that's reinforced
Stop being so sophisticated.
by hip-hop music that degrades women. They live in a misogynist culture where women are
Women
put
buy the
down.
music.
They're called bees, they're called tramps, we're called hoes.
But that's not all black men.
Stress is a contributing factor.
So what you're
It
telling
all
me is
a
that
big,
black males-
nasty ball of dung that has an impact on our community
I'm glad-
negatively.
I'm glad he said
If
dumb.
women don't have no value, then why would they have stress about it?
Women are not valued across the board, across this country and in other countries, and that's the #1 problem that we have. And I'm going to say this really quick, and the #1 problem that I believe that we have no value across the board is because we have been removed from creation.
I'll say this.
What else do you believe?
All you simply said to me was when you went back to hip-hop and all the devalue, you have said to me black males are out of control.
Oh,
That's
certainly.
what you have said to me.
And you
Not
said
all
that.
black
Certainly.
men.
That's what, wait a minute. So you're saying we out of control?
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because of all the contributing factors. We have the things that happens within our communities, within our socialization reinforces it, and because of the stress factors. All of it contributes to our people, black men in particular, being out of control.
So
and we've got to get a handle on it.
perception is that when you see a black man, you're going to see somebody who's wild and crazy, so therefore up comes the gun.
And
Is
see,
that right?
And that is reinforced.
Is that what you're saying?
And that is reinforced by the media that helps reinforce
With
that
videos
image,
like
right.
this.
But we help contribute to it.
And see,
by acting out, we need to try to get some self-control.
I am not going to let you all demonize all black men across the board.
Because black men are not
that's
hard.
not
Black
it.
men are wonderful, and
You
they
know,
have awesome attributes.
And
Awesome.
there's a small pocket of our population who needs to
Thank
get
you.
that counseling, who have grew up with domestic violence, seeing that their fathers do this to their mothers and grandmothers and this, that, and the third, and so they think it's normal. You have to get the counseling.
So it's pattern behavior.
It's pattern behavior. Another contributor.
Sometimes.
But what
Yes,
you're
other
saying
times
is
it's just they
that
out
what
of-
you're saying is
they-
that but what he's saying
mentality.
is that stress produces this. But what produces a young black male who's out of control?
I said health stress contributes to it, and I'm saying culture that we
Creates
have
this.
helps create
And
it.
it helps young black males to see black women as valueless, right?
Exactly.
Like,
Or to see
who
the
was that
world.
actor that said, don't date black women, date a white woman?
Terrence Howard.
Because she'll
Terrence
take your
Howard.
money. Oh,
Right.
my goodness.
Crazy.
But you know
Blonde,
what?
white females. Up next on Khari, free at last on Bounce23 TV. Welcome back to Khari, free at last. I'm Khari Enaharo. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates, and Katrina Hawkins Bowles. Would the NFL's initial suspension been greater if the female Ray Rice knocked out was a white blonde female? Reverend, would it have been different?
Almost certainly.
Oh,
They'd have
no.
fired him immediately.
Oh,
He took
no.
the contract immediately,
No.
and he'd have been
What
in
you
jail.
talking about? He
Yeah, he'd have
already
been in
would have
jail.
been lynched.
No,
He'd have been in jail.
no, not
My
that.
issue with him, with this whole thing is, in the beginning, they suspended him for a 2-game suspension. This is like double jeopardy to me. And then they go back 8, 9 months later and say, oh, well, we feel that the sentence was a little bit too light.
After the uproar.
Right,
Yeah.
we're gonna give you another 10 years. You can't do that. They should have took the responsibility responsibility and took the backlash from giving him a 2-game suspension.
I mean,
in the
change
first
the
place.
rules. Let's change the rules,
You know?
in the middle of the process.
So
How they just gonna change the rules?
what
But
role,
why go
wait a
back
minute,
and
hold
get it,
on. What role did race play in this? The fact that if she had been a blonde white woman or a white female or a Latino female, an Asian female, would the NFL or any other ruling body have reacted differently?
I believe absolutely so.
Based on what? What do you base
based
it on?
On race, on color. I do truly believe that if he had knocked out a white woman in that elevator and drug her off like a Neanderthal, that I believe that his contract would have been immediately terminated and he would have been prosecuted.
Well, there are several studies that show that black men get harsher criminal sentences for crimes against whites than they do against blacks. I mean, that's been going on for
But
years.
you're talking about the court system. We're talking about an NBA commissioner. What is the NBA?
NFL.
The NFL, thank you. I get them confused. But
Shows you you don't watch or play football.
Both of them are forms of slavery.
Right.
So high-paid
I ain't
slaves,
going
$1 million
there. Go ahead.
slaves, okay? But they're structured the same. You have these billionaire owners that get together and they form a commission.
I got all of that.
Okay,
But
and they
would there
have a
been
commissioner.
difference?
They
But
set
you
their
said-
own rules.
But you said that there would be a difference. Why would you say that?
I believe so.
Why? Based on what?
Because white men protect their women.
Thank you.
What do you mean?
They protect their women. And if they allow a black athlete to then be espoused to a white woman, he will suffer. Ask Tiger Woods. Can you talk to Tiger?
Oh.
Tiger, can you tell us what happened to you? Can we
So what you
bring him to the witness stand? He'll tell you what happened.
So what you're saying is that race did play a factor in this.
certainly.
That's what I
And
keep
the
asking.
expediency of the punishment.
What do you
Yes.
mean? Expediency of the point. That's a big word. What do you mean
Race played a
expediency?
factor in how fast they dealt with the consequences.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, and by the way, Tiger played golf and not football.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry,
that's true,
sorry.
too. You know,
That is true.
Earth, were you surprised that he only got 2-game suspension?
In the beginning, I was, but I said, okay, you know, I didn't see the video until recently, although it had been circulating for a while, so why the commissioner decided not to watch the entire video in the first place, I have no idea. I think
Willful
what happened...
ignorance.
I think
Willful ignorance.
I think what really happened
If it had
here-
been a blonde white woman,
Listen,
would he have watched it?
Of course, and I also think that the only reason why they came back with this is because the public saw that video. They had already saw the video, and they tried to keep it quiet as long as they possibly could and say, listen, we hope this dies down. You know, we'll give you 2
And that
games
gets back to
suspension.
Kahari's first part, because how did the public see the video?
Absolutely.
TMC released it, but they released it when you had a low in the coverage of the Ferguson reporting. So now we have a low. Michael Brown's case is on the low now. So now let's bring up another black image.
Let's
That's
change
violent.
the image.
That's violent.
Let's change
That's
the
violent.
image.
Show that,
Because
yeah.
look, these black men abuse their women.
Right.
They knock them around. They have no respect. Look at him dragging her out like he's a caveman.
Well, they've been
Looking at
calling
him
us
abusing her.
animals
For
a long time.
Well, the Godfather movie said it
I mean,
real clear.
look at the amount of news coverage that this is demanding.
And how many times
there's
they
a
keep playing the
major,
video.
there's a
Over and
major
over again.
Ebola outbreak
Right.
in Africa
Right.
that's killing thousands
Absolutely.
of black
They have brought
people.
another
And what-
American back here to bring it over
America's getting ready to go to war
Yes.
Yes.
again, okay?
Yes.
And look at the amount of coverage that an elevator knockout
Right.
punch is.
It has produced.
Why? Why?
I'm
so
like
much?
you because I think that the new face of terrorism, they're trying to make it a black face. That will justify shooting us down, male and female, unarmed in the streets, leaving our bodies out uncovered for hours so that the world can see.
So there is a connection.
Oh,
Is that what you're
absolutely,
saying?
I certainly believe so.
Katrina, do you believe there's a connection between these images?
I don't want to believe it, but if they are trying to portray us as animals and that we act like cavemen and that we are that brutal with people that we say we even love,
That's
then
what
what
we're
would they
doing.
do
Wait
to
a minute,
anybody
wait a minute.
else?
You
and
can't-
that could
Wait a
justify.
minute. He knocked her out.
He knocked her
I
out.
don't care how many ways you want to portray it and then drug her around like she was dirt.
You know,
And that
Yeah.
they can say that if they can do that to someone they love, then they can do that to a
Then
stranger.
imagine what
These
they
are
could do to
monsters.
us. Absolutely.
These are monsters and they must be stopped.
It can be
That's the
logical.
image that's being perpetrated.
all I know is that
can't
I got to
argue with
stay
that.
out of the way of those arms because I may be a victim of domestic violence on the Khari Free at Last show, but we...
We are
yeah, she does go.
non-violent. We are non-violent.
I'm kind of glad
Yeah, I thought she was going to hit you a couple of times.
She had reached, too.
Go on, knock him out.
I talk with my hands.
Okay, so if race then plays a factor, then how should we address this question, Irv?
You know, I think...
What should black women be saying right now about this?
We should really have a conversation because, you know, I know people personally who are right now currently in domestic violence situations, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around it.
What do you say to them?
You know, people keep telling me that I'm abrasive. You know, I don't do I don't do the little stroke thing. I'm thinking, why ain't you left? Because he can't be your soulmate and love you if you got a black eye or broken ribs. That's ridiculous. But I have to take a better approach and give them...
Are women at fault for any of this domestic violence?
You know...
Is it all us? We just such horrible
No,
creatures?
it's not you, because men also get whooped.
No, that creates
men also get whooped.
You mentioned battered wives syndrome. This is something that is a mental
What about the battered male syndrome?
And that too.
Are men being battered by women?
Men are also being battered by women.
Yes.
They say the studies show up to 100,000 men annually are battered by the women. But also it says, but 600,000 to 1.2 million women are battered, and they say a third of them are killed by their husbands or spouse annually. And if you as a woman will kill a man in self-defense on domestic violence.
Stay right there, hold on.
Girls
will be boys. Up next on Khari, free at last on Bounce23 TV. Welcome back to Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV. I'm Khari Enaharo. Joining me is TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates, and Katrina Hawkins Bowles. Dozens of new television shows and movies are depicting females as the action heroes. Oh yeah, shooting and beating up hundreds of men. What do you mean domestic violence? Reverend, look, you got women just, every time I turn on the TV now or watch a movie, you got women carrying the gun, you got the women fighting the man, throwing him on his back, beating him up. They're creating this notion that women can beat men, so it's supercharging a whole group of young girls coming up that they can fight a man, and at the same time they want to scream domestic violence when they get beat down.
Well, first of all,
explain that to me.
Well, first of all, Khari, I don't know what all you're instigating, okay? But I do believe that is an image that's being pushed by Hollywood. But what we need to say is that it is absolutely unacceptable for a man to ever put his hands on a woman. Regardless of the circumstances. It's unacceptable. Brothers, keep your hands to yourself. But it's also unacceptable for a woman to put her hands on a man.
We say this. I believe this. Look, it's important. No matter what the situation that you're in, no matter how she comes at you, if you got to run out of that house, get out of that house and stay out of that house as long as you can until she cools down. Do not put your hands on a woman.
We have a relationship problem.
That's right.
Of dysfunctional relationships in the black community.
Absolutely. And not being able to communicate.
And that's why we need to have a relationship summit.
It's time. It's long overdue. It's time to do this. Now, but the programming continues. Hollywood is programming young girls to act like action heroes. Look at the little young girl studs we got walking around right now. Oh, I mean, they look like males. You understand what I'm saying? They're all tattooed up. They want to fight. You understand? They think they're rough. They're pitching and throwing balls.
They are tatted up.
They are functioning. They are functioning.
What about Norbit? We make fun of that.
We have never seen this level. They are programming. I mean, all these shows on TV show women in the military. They want to go in the military. They want to do combat. They want to be the sheriffs. They want to grab a man, throw him to the ground, all that kind of stuff. And then at the same time, they want to scream domestic violence. Explain that to me. And women will not take a stand on this.
You talked about, yes, we do. We do take stands on this. We take a stand on it right now.
Y'all weak.
I do not believe that a woman should put her hands on a man, but you talked about programming, and it's not for the television to program your children. It's for the parents to get up and parent and teach your children. Yes, I do, but you know what? I do. So you have to monitor. Being a parent means you have to be active. You can't be a passive parent. That means you control what your child watches on television. You set the standards in your house. You give them the morals and values that you want them to be raised with.
You let her talk to you like that. You let her talk to you.
bring
You
it
let her
down.
talk to you like
But
that?
that's the issue that we are having right now. We are having our children come home from school and get in front of the computer
Right, and
or
it's
get in front of the
television.
TV.
We don't know what
We're
they're
not watching
watching.
our children. We're not babysitting our own children. Our TV is
the
babysitting
music,
the
like
children.
John mentioned.
And the television is hypnotized.
Right.
You're watching three
Very
colors,
powerful.
a blue light, a
Right.
red light, and a green light
The
that's
only show
strobing.
that they
that's
ought to be
strobing.
watching is Khari Free at Last and Bounce TV.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
The greatest television in the world ever invented is Bounce23 TV.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So
That's
we
right.
say this. So we say to young people, what is the message? What do you want to say to Hollywood?
I would like to say to Hollywood, you need to stop it. And parents need
Stop
to
what?
stop trying to program this into the children's head as far as music and television goes, of giving them the thoughts that they can beat a man. That's not the case.
And that's why you're seeing, I
Physically
think,
different.
and as it grows up, you might see at some point a war between males and
Yeah, 'cause
females.
we're
because
physically
that's what they're
different.
pushing.
At
That's
some
what
point,
they're pushing.
It's
There's
going on
already
right
a
now.
war.
I'm
The
telling you, it's gonna
domestic-
escalate.
In the black community,
If we aren't careful.
in the black community, for black women, domestic violence many times ends in their death.
Yes,
Right.
that is
Most
true.
definitely.
And that is
Absolutely.
sad.
Definitely.
Thanks to TalkTainmentRadio.com host Earth Jallow, the Reverend John Coates, and our special guest Katrina Hawkins Bowles. And thank you for watching Khari Free at Last on Bounce23 TV.